Today I put 50 of the greatest shooters in NBA history into a 3-point contest. Starting with round 1, I split the players into 8 different groups based off their 2K24 3-point rating. Steph Curry and Ray Allen get a bye from the first round because they're the GOATs of shooting. Starting with group 1 though, we got Paul George with an 84 rating. The top 2 players from each group move on to round 2. PG scored 25. Jeff Hornacek with a 92 rating scored 24. Michael Redd with a 94 3-point rating finished with 25. Steve Novak also with a 94 rating, also finished with 25. Steve Kerr with a 95 rating scored 29. And lastly, Klay Thompson with a 98 rating finished with 31 points, meaning that Klay and Kerr move on from group 1. Moving on to group 2, Kobe with an 85 rating scored 27. Eddie Jones with a 92 rating scored 28. Mike Miller with a 93 rating scored 30. Steve Nash with a 94 rating scored 27. Kevin Durant with a 95 rating scored 24. And lastly, Drazen Petrovic with a 98 rating scored 29. So Mike Miller and Petrovic move on from group 2. On to group 3, Carmelo Anthony with an 87 rating scored 31. Paul Pierce with a 92 rating scored 23. John Stockton with a 93 rating scored 29. Kiki Vandeweghe with a 93 rating scored 26. Mark Price with a 96 rating scored 25. And lastly, Larry Bird with a 98 rating only scored 25 points. So Carmelo Anthony and John Stockton move on from group 3. Moving to group 4, Damian Lillard with an 87 rating scored 24. Bruce Bowen with a 91 rating scored 28. Allen Houston with a 93 rating scored 26. Kenny Smith with a 94 rating scored 28. JJ Redick with a 96 rating scored 32. And lastly, Chris Mullin with a 97 rating scored 24. So JJ Redick moves on to round 2, and for the second spot, Bruce Bowen and Kenny Smith had a tiebreaker to see who moves on. Kenny Smith scored 24 and Bruce Bowen scored 25 points, so Bruce Bowen also moves on. On to group 5, Chauncey Billups with an 88 rating scored 25. T-Mac with a 91 rating scored 26. Jameer Nelson with a 93 rating scored 27. Dennis Scott with a 94 rating scored 28. Del Curry with a 96 rating scored 30. And lastly, Wish Reggie Miller with a 97 rating scored 27. So Del Curry and Dennis Scott move on from group 5. Moving to group 6, James Harden with an 89 rating scored 25. Joe Johnson with a 91 rating scored 28. Kyrie Irving with a 93 rating scored 25. BJ Armstrong with a 93 rating scored 25 as well. Jason Terry with a 96 rating scored 28. And lastly, Peja Stojakovic with a 97 rating scored 29. So Peja moves on, and for the second spot, Jason Terry and Joe Johnson had a tiebreaker. Terry scored 24 and Johnson scored 28, so Joe Johnson moves on to round 2. On to group 7, Kemba Walker with a 90 rating scored 29. Trae Young also with a 90 rating scored 28. Rashard Lewis with a 93 rating scored 28. Sean Elliott with a 94 rating scored 27. Kyle Korver with a 95 rating scored 30. And lastly, Dirk Nowitzki with a 96 rating scored 26, meaning Kemba and Korver move on from group 7. Our last group of round 1, Vince Carter with a 90 rating scored 30. Eric Gordon also with a 90 rating scored 26. Mitch Richmond with a 91 rating scored 26. J.R. Smith with a 94 rating scored 32. Dale Ellis with a 96 rating scored 29. And lastly, Glenn Rice with a 97 rating scored 27. So Vince Carter and J.R. Smith move on. With round 1 done, we still have 6 open spots for round 2. So the next 6 highest scorers in round 1 will move on as well. First off is Dale Ellis, who scored 29. Then we have Trae Young, Rashard Lewis, Jason Terry, Kenny Smith, and Eddie Jones, who all scored 28 points moving on. On to round 2, we got 4 groups. Top 3 from each group moves on. Starting with group 1, Eddie Jones scored 24. Bruce Bowen scored 27. Dennis Scott scored 32. Mike Miller scored 26. Del Curry scored 24. And lastly, Steph Curry with a 99 3-point rating scored 29 points. So Steph, Dennis Scott, and Bowen move on. Group 2, Jason Terry scored 30. Joe Johnson scored 28. John Stockton scored 27. Vince Carter scored 29. Kyle Korver scored 30. And lastly, Ray Allen with a 98 rating. He's supposed to be in a Sonics jersey, but 2K put him in a Thunder one. Also, you may have noticed a lot of players have the wrong numbers. It's just a glitch. But Ray Allen scored 30. So Jason Terry, Kyle Korver, and Ray Allen move on. Now, group 3, Rashard Lewis scored 28. Dale Ellis scored 29. Peja scored 24. Steve Kerr scored 29. Carmelo Anthony scored 26. And lastly, JJ Redick scored 29. So Ellis, Kerr, and Redick move on. Lastly, we have group 4. Trae Young scored 27. Kenny Smith scored 24. Kemba Walker scored 26. Drazen Petrovic scored 30. Klay Thompson scored 33. And J.R. Smith scored 26. So Trae, Drazen, and Klay move on. And we are down to only 12 players now. We We got 2 groups left, and the top 3 from each move on to the final. Bruce Bowen was first in Group 1, and he shot lights out. Starting 4 for 5 on his money rack, he also hit a deep 3. While he didn't shoot fast enough to finish the round, he still scored 27. Next up was Kerr, and he shot the same as Bowen, going 4 for 5 on his money rack, as well as hitting a deep 3, ending with 27. Then we had JJ Redick. He also shot 4 for 5 on his money rack and hit a deep 3, but only scored 26. Next is Kyle Korver. Again, he shot 4 for 5 on his money rack, hit a deep 3, but he ended with 29. Jason Terry was the worst shooter of the group, also hitting 4 for 5 on his money rack, hitting a deep 3, but only finishing with 25. Lastly was Klay Thompson. Yet again, he shot 4 for 5 on his money rack, hit a deep 3, but had the best score with a 30. So Klay and Korver move on to the finals, and Kerr and Bowen had a tiebreaker for the last spot. Kerr ended up scoring 11, and Bowen finished with 12, so Bowen moves to the final. On to Group 2, Dale Ellis started off hitting a deep 3 and shooting 3 of 5 on his money rack. He ended with 27 points. Trae Young was next, and he did similar to Ellis, hitting a deep 3 and shooting 3 of 5 on his money rack. He only scored 25 though. Petrovic was next, and he had the best score so far, going perfect on his money rack and hitting a deep 3. He ended with 28. Next was Steph Curry. He hit every single money ball in the round, as well as a deep 3, so he ended with 31 points. Then it was Ray Allen, scoring all but one money ball and hitting a deep 3. He ended with 29. Lastly, it was Dennis Scott. He hit both his deep 3s, all of his money balls, and ended with 32 points. So Ray, Steph, and Scott move on to the finals. So here we are, finally in the finals. Only 6 players remain, and first up was Bruce Bowen. He hit both his deep 3s, 3 of 5 on his money rack, scoring 29. Next was Kyle Korver. He didn't do too great this round, missing a lot of money balls. He hit 1 deep 3 and finished with 26. Then it was Dennis Scott. He shot the same as Bowen, hitting 3 of his 5 money balls, 2 deep 3s, and scored 29. Next up, Steph Curry had the best round so far, only missing 6 shots total, hitting 1 deep 3. He scored 30 points. Right after him was Ray Allen, who did even better than Steph, hitting 2 deep 3s. He scored 31 points. Lastly was Klay Thompson, and he had a very rough round. He couldn't hit a deep 3 and only had 25 points. Bowen and Scott had a tiebreaker to make it to the finals of the finals, with Bowen winning 14-12, and with only 3 players left, who will win? Only with a 91 3-point rating, not a great chance that Bruce Bowen wins here, but he's made it this far, so you never know. First rack's pretty good, 5 points. Second rack, really good as well. Can he go perfect with the money ball? Yes, he can. A perfect second rack. Onto his first deep 3. It's no good. And he's onto his money rack. Always has it on the top of the key. Misses his first one though. Bricks another money ball. Not great for Bruce Bowen. Can he hit the final one? Yes, he can. Onto the second deep 3. He probably needs this if he wants any chance of winning, but he does not hit it. The best he can do is 28 points if he goes perfect here. Money ball is good. 22 points going into the final rack. Can he go perfect? He probably needs a perfect rack here if he wants a chance at winning. Time is winding down. Can he even complete the contest? Final shot, and he gets it off in time, hits it for 27 points. A decent, I mean, it's a pretty good score, but I don't know if it's going to be enough for him to win. We got Steph Curry up next, the favorite throughout the entire contest. Can he secure the W though? He just won the NBA Imperialism. Not a great first rack for Steph, only 3 points there. Onto the second rack. This is his money rack. Trying to go perfect. He's hit everything so far. 4 shots good. Final money rack shot is no good, so he can't go perfect on the money rack. Deep 3 now. That is no good either. Not looking great for Steph here. He is not in a good position to win this. He's really got to turn up in the second half of this contest. Money ball right there is good. 15 points. He needs this deep 3. It is no good. It's over for Steph. The best he can do is tie with Bruce Bowen, but if he misses, he has 0 chance of winning this contest. Money ball right here. That one's money. He hasn't missed yet. Final rack. Can he go perfect to tie with Bruce Bowen? Let's find out. 3 shots left. And his final money ball is good, ending with 27, tying for first here. But our final shooter is Ray Allen. If he beats 27 points, he will be our 3-point champion, facing off against the 50 greatest shooters of all time. But Ray Allen starting off very solid, misses a shot there, but then hits his money ball. 10 points already. First deep 3, and that is money. Already up to 13, onto his money rack now. Bricks the first shot. It's the second one. Can he continue this momentum? He is bricking on his money rack. This is not a good sign for Ray Allen. Bricks another Money shot. Second deep three is good though. Up to 20 on the final rack. He just needs 8 points or more to win this thing. Despite a poor money rack, those 2 deep threes really saved him. That money ball is no good. Up to 24. Needs 3 points to tie with the other players. He should be able to pull that off, but let's see if he can win this thing. 25, 26 to win it all, and he hits it. 28 points for Ray Allen. And there it is. Ray Allen winning by 1 point in the final. He is our champion against the 50 greatest shooters in NBA history. If you guys enjoyed this video though, check out this one right here where I did NBA imperialism, but it was a 3-point contest. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.